there everyone, Citrus Aviation here with a highly anticipated 4K model review, and today we are reviewing the NG models 1/400 scale United 757-200. I've been really looking forward to doing one of these NG models 1/400 scale model reviews. If you look on the channel, one of the very first model reviews I did, in fact the very first one, was of an NG models 1/200 scale model. It was the Delta Connection CRJ-200 in 1/200 scale. In fact, if we go back to the camera here and we take a look, you can see the model right there on the pile of the boxes, of NG boxes. And we are going to do a 1/400 scale model now, as I now have 3 1/400 scale NG models aircraft. And I'm really excited to review this one. This is the United one without winglets. So we're going to get started with this review. And we're going to start with the history of the airline. United Airlines was founded in 1926 as a crop dusting service of the Boeing Company, and eventually started passenger service in 1932, and eventually would become its own company. The airline would continue to expand over the decades into the large giant that is today. The airline is currently owned by Wells Fargo Bank and Trust, and United Airlines is one of the 4 largest airlines in the world. And all those airlines are based in the United States. United Airlines' claim to being the largest airline in the world is that they have the most routes and destinations served of any airline in the world. This livery that you are taking a look at here on the model is of United Airlines merger livery with Continental. This livery came out in 2011. It basically just took the old Continental livery, slapped the United title on it, and called it good. That was it. So since then, the airline has grown massively and is huge. A lot of people fly them, and this livery is not my favorite, as it's kind of just the Continental livery with just the United titles on it. I really don't. I mean, it's fine, but I don't care for it too much. In 2019, they came out with a new livery, and the rest of their fleet will eventually be painted into that new livery. So for the information about this aircraft, this is November 543 Uniform Alpha. It is a 757-222 with the Boeing customer code of 22 for United. This aircraft was delivered on October 10th, 1991. United operated a total of 98 757-222s before the merger of Continental, which was at the time one of the biggest fleets of 757, I believe second only to Delta. And then the airline merged with Continental, and they acquired an additional 64 757s of the 757-224 variant, which would be the Continental Boeing customer code of 24. At that time, in total, they operated 162 757s, again becoming one of the biggest 757 operators, second only to Delta. Retirement for the 162 757s began in October of 2013, starting particularly with the early United 757s of the 222 variant without winglets. This aircraft was one of the last of those aircraft to get retired. It was retired in October of 2016, and then United just pretty much has only their newer 757-222s and Continental 75s. Most of those were newer. Any aircraft that did not have the winglets were converted to winglets or retired. This one was retired. So it is really sad that a lot of these aircraft are going, but the 757 is a historic and fantastic aircraft and has seen new life in the last decade and a half doing transcontinental service, and the big one doing transatlantic services, which a lot of airlines are finding 757 is really good for long-haul flights with lower capacity. So 757 might still have a few more years in it with certain airlines like United and Delta. Not so much of American, as they are retiring them immediately, but at least you can still see some United and Delta ones. As this is my very first review of an NG Models 1/400 scale model, I will go a little bit more in depth on the box detail. So the box is fairly simple. It has no flap. It basically just has some artwork on the front and back that's almost mirrored, and then the 2 side flaps are mirrored as well as the front and bottom. The inside of the bottle has a really nice cradle. It is very similar to the ones you get in 1/200 scale. It has a foam piece where the model sits in, and then a plastic top, as well as protective plastic on the top of the model, as well as the very interesting feature where there's a piece of plastic on the underside of the model where some of the foam has been cut through to prevent parts from falling out into the bottom of the box. That is really nice. This is by far the finest packaging that I've seen on any 1/400 scale model. It's better than Gemmajet's, better than any other company. This is the way models should be protected. I'm very glad 1/400 scale models are finally getting the protection they deserve. This is kudos to NG models because it's very, very high quality. Every model company should be doing something like this, and I hope to see more brands doing this in the future. We're now taking a look at the details of this very gorgeous model. Up front, you can see the nose detail, which is highly detailed. It's not just a little detail. This is amazing. Just take a look at that nose and cockpit window. Whoa, that is something special. The nose gear is also super well detailed. I'll bring that into focus right now. And then if we turn towards the side, oh, just look at that 757 nose. I love the 757. This is one of my favorite aircraft. It's titled the G550 and 787. That's my favorite aircraft in the world. I really can't decide which one I like better. So as we turn to the side of the aircraft, you can see the 757 nose is really, really nice. It's very pointed. Has that nice rounded end to it, just like the actual 75 does. And you can see that the cockpit windows are lower than the main passenger windows, which is correct for a Boeing 757. If you've ever been in one and you go from the cabin to the cockpit, you actually have to step down to get into the cockpit, which is a really interesting feature. You can see pitot tubes and steady ports. Also, I might want to commend NG right now because look at that gold. You see how the gold stripe is actually gleaming? That is correct. That is so awesome. I know the Gemmajet one does that too, but the NG just does it better. Alright, so if we go to the side of the model here, we can see there is the Star Alliance logo. And then on the nose gear, I believe that is the fleet number. So the 543 is there. As well as you can see, just behind the red line, there is the ETOPS, as this aircraft is an ETOPS rated aircraft, meaning that it can go at altitudes of over 40,000 feet with its cabin pressure. You can see the L1 door, which is really nicely detailed. You can see the United titles and the main first slant business class cabin. The L2 door, which is also loaded in by passengers on the port side. You can see more of that gold detail, and you can see two antennas. You can see the windward detail. This is something I really like about NG models. You can see how the windward is a separate piece. You can very much see that here on this part of the model. If I turn it this way, you can see just how nicely, just how rounded and amazing that windward is. There is an inboard landing light just inside the wing there. You can see the wing detail there, and then there are the engines. Of course, as it's a 1/400 scale model, the fan blades do not spin. The detail inside could be a bit better, but it's pretty good. And then going down the leading edge of the wing, we have the wingtip with the red navigation light. And the engines on these, United Airlines opted for the Rolls-Royce RB211s. Alright, so now moving down, we have the main gear details, you can see right there. And you can see down to the back of the aircraft, you can see the registration and the flag of the United States, as United is an official flag carrier of the United States of America. And then you can see the Golden Globe, which is shining incredibly well in this lighting. Just look at that. That is beautiful. Alright, and then if we can turn to the APU housing detail, you can see it right there. It's quite nicely done. Goes to a sharp point, as it should. You can see the back of it, and if we do the back of the wing engine detail, it's pretty nice. Nothing special, but pretty nice. Alright, so back over to the other side of the aircraft, we have the starboard side details. You can see we have the same details here that we do on the other side, except there's a cargo container door. The windward, which is really nicely done. And then moving down the leading edge of the wing to the green navigation light. And then behind it, you can see the windward is really nice back here too. Rear cargo container door. And we can see the United Globe. Now, you'll often see airlines put their fleet number somewhere on the tail. You can see here, the fleet number is just below the tail on the fuselage. Look at the topside details. You can see pitot tubes, steady ports, the copper windows, which are perfectly detailed on this model. The L and R1 doors. You can see the R1 door is just slightly smaller than the L1, just as it should be, and it's also slightly forward of the L1 door, which is perfect. The United titles, you can see the beacon light there. You can see the L and R2 doors. You can see an antenna up top. And then we have some ADF antennas. Over the wing detail is excellent. You can see the end there. The end of the wing is very sharp. In fact, I almost cut myself with it. That's just how sharply it is made. You can see the pylons, leading edge slats, trailing edge flaps, and ailerons. The escape hatch detail is also amazing on this model. If we move down, there isn't much detail as this aircraft didn't really get the updated Wi-Fi box before it was retired. Aircraft that United decided to keep with the 75s, they did update to having newer electronics and cabins. Alright, underside detail, you can see the main gear doors, which close on the 757. You can see the underline stripe, which is silver, which is actually quite nice. I actually really like that. Just look at all that detail they have. Just let you look at it. It's amazing. There's an antenna. There is the windward with the NACA dots, and I can just show you a bit more just how amazing this windward is. Just look at that. I mean, that's like perfectly sculpted. Better than any model I've ever seen. The 757 from NG models have perfect windwards. You can see how the windward perfectly flows into the wing. The underside of the engine detail is also really good. Underside of the wing still leaves a lot to be desired, but I don't know if anybody's ever going to cover that. The underside of the wing is really nice. There's the main gear doors. You can see these wheels do not flop around like on the Genesis ones. The wheels don't really roll very well, but they do roll. You can see the hole for the stand, which is kind of has a little cutout in it. That is something that NG Models does, so they'll probably end up creating a stand to fit that. And then there is the beacon light, the emergency, not the emergency, but the main cargo doors for the wheels, which are really nice and detailed. And then if we go down here, we have another antenna, cargo door, pressure relief valve, and then just the details for the APU and the underside of the horizontal stabilizers. Alrighty, so now for the seating configuration. This aircraft was in an old configuration, so it is hard to find information on this configuration, but I'm going to do the best that I can. So the configs I could find would suggest that this aircraft 543 was in the 2450-108 configuration, which is a total of 182 seats, which makes it a low density aircraft. This aircraft would have had, if it was in this configuration, 24 first class seats in a 2-2 configuration, rows 1 through 6, so the entire front section of the aircraft cabin here, in between the L1 and L2 doors. Next up, we would have had premium economy, 50 seats, going from the L2 door, and it would have stopped right here, right where there's no window there, and there would have been some seats on one side, but not on the other side. That's because the other side has a kitchen and a lavatory. And then the rest of the aircraft is 108 economy seats in a 3-3 configuration. So that makes the full configuration of this aircraft. We're going to take a look at the features of this model. It has rolling landing gear. The rubber tires do roll very nicely, even though they don't seem to want to roll when I put pressure on them. They do roll very nicely on their own. These wheels don't appear to tilt. Okay, so no tilting gear, but they do roll. Alright, so for my concluding thoughts on this model and the rating, I won't be able to put it on the stand as it won't fit in the stand hole, so hopefully you guys will accept just a nice little 360 here of it in its position. Actually, I'll put it on its box for y'all. It will do that. Just raise it up here. And then we'll do the thoughts here. Alright, and then we'll just do a nice 360 this way. Alrighty. So my thoughts on this model, as we do the typical 40-point grading scale with accuracy, mold, paint, and value. So this model, for accuracy and mold, will get a 10 each. This is a fantastic mold. The only complaint I would have to say about the NG 757s is that the engines are a bit too small. I mean, this is a 757. These are known for having very large engines for their time, and they would still be considered decent size for today. And those engines right there, that's not the right size. They're too small. So this aircraft, I would just have to take off a single port on the mold. But other than that, I really can't fault the model. The paint is amazing. 10 out of 10 there. And then the value, this model's also going to end up being a valuable model, as NG doesn't make many of these, and so they are very limited edition. So I don't know if I would give this a 10 for value, but I definitely give it a 9. So the final verdict for this model of the United 757-200 without winglets in the UACO livery from NG models is a 38 out of 40, which is one of the best I've ever done. That is a fantastic model. If you get a 30 out of 40, that's going to be a high quality model. You're going to really like it. It's going to fit nicely in your collection. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. And then we have business. Then we have premium economy, 50 seats, 3 and 3. That would be from the L2 door to about the emergency doors, approximately in there. Actually, just a bit short. Probably ending right about the kitchen door. Right about the